The one point I want to stay on in some of the men's work is I tend to take umbrage with this idea, and I'd love to get your feedback on it, of like having these archetypes of, the king, the warrior, magician. I tried to read that book as well, and I maybe made it halfway through.
Yeah.
And for me, it's really hard to subscribe to archetypes, because even in a lot of this healing men's work, we give all this healing and love stuff. We still give it only to women, to say like, okay, men need to embrace their masculine, embrace their feminine, and the feminine side is all like the humanity part of who we are. And I feel like we still take that away from boys, because in this giant man box when we were being raised, like it's too nebulous of a definition of what it means to be a man. So what boys come away with is that, oh, don't be a girl or don't be gay. And so I feel like when men grow up without all the emotional resonance that I feel was taken from them as boys, and then you tell them, okay, now you have to be more feminine, I feel like there's just a cognitive dissonance. You're like, well, wait a minute, but society doesn't accept me if I have more emotions and have more of this. So I feel like we need to integrate these things, and just like we just all need to be human. Just
Right.
was as like, I'm sure women would are learning to be more, as the feminist movement taught them, to be more decisive, to not be so accommodating, to have opinion, and to do all these things that aren't like masculine. You're like, no, it's another aspect of your humanity. And so this is the thing I'm still working on as well, and is wondering how you feel about these sorts of concepts.
Well, so I love the conversation about it. It's a healthy, robust inquiry that I'm hearing you're making. And there's two things for me that are interestingly around the archetypes. Just that king, lover, warrior, magician, for me, are like, we spoke earlier about emotional depth and, in a way, granularity, and about having some different ability to express our feelings. So, anger is just one word. Frustration falls under anger. Irritation falls under anger. In the wheel of emotions, there's these little like, I'm frustrated, and it's like, maybe if anger is physical, maybe anger is quiet and brooding. There's
Right.
different aspects of that, and we want to be able to recognize the different ones when they're in ourselves and when they're in others, so that we can identify what's the emotion that's happening. And I use that as an example to say this is the same way that I would view archetypes, that I would look at it and go, there are times when it's really helpful when I can drop my shoulders back, lift my chin, gaze out, and have an embodied sense of my own autonomy, of who I am, that I am the king of my world. Now, I don't want that to be the narcissistic, overblown king, but I just want to say the authority of this decision. I have agency. When we're trying to develop agency as a skill in kids at a young age, here we are as grown men going, I still have agency. And I can look out over the landscape of my life and say, there's my partner, there's my children, there's my jobs, there's my hobby. How am I attending to them? Like a king might glance out over the fields and go, it's time to plant over here, and it's time to let this soil lie fallow. And it's like just, for me, the combination of the body and the posture and this archetype is something that I've then been able to literally use as a tool in a day-by-day basis, going, I recognize that I'm feeling like I'm very much in my sensitivity at the moment, and I actually might be too far into it. It would be helpful for me to have a little bit of my fierceness, because I'm allowed to be that. I just want it to not be the type of fierceness that injures anybody. Let
Right.
me draw on that character of the warrior, as if you had theater school, and you got to put on the wardrobe of each of these different postures. You would immediately find yourself adopting a different character just by trying on the different clothes. And this is again generating that internal flexibility to occupy different positions in ourselves. And like, we have so many different, the me, who's me, it's
Right.
like this me in this moment, this me scared, right? Because something that's happening here reminds me of my childhood and that didn't go well. And this me is fiercely defended because something in my childhood happened didn't go so well. And this me here is loving to this other me who's scared. And then like now we've got this fluidity in our internal space. I mean, maybe it's inner child languaged for some people, maybe it's parts work from the internal family systems that we talk about. But in some way, all of these models are giving us ways to relate and connect both internally with ourselves in these different ways we show up, and then hey, is this my 4-year-old showing up with your 4-year-old? Because that can be fun. Let's go play. Or is this my, do I have my my mature masculine available? And that to me is what the call and the invitation is in all men's work, is to say, what is my mature masculine and how do I call it forward? Let me build my own relationship with this and see the impact in the world as I start to show up more fully in that.